I wish that you could go back to like the person who you were when I first started dating you. What's up, guys? So welcome to chapter 2 of our series. So if you have not watched the previous 3 videos, make sure you check those out at the end of this video. And as always, make sure you watch this video all the way through so that you guys will have a good understanding and hopefully we'll be able to help some people out in the process. So without further ado, let's jump right into the signs we ignore and did we rush our relationship.
So if you guys, again, have watched all of our videos from the very beginning, you guys will know that the answer to that is yes. So Joyce and I definitely would say we rushed our relationship. So here's the timeline. We met on October 1st. I think we're done with our relationships before Halloween.
Before my birthday.
Right, because we went on a first date on his birthday, which is October 22nd. We officially started dating November 20th. And I think we were moved in together, had to be before Christmas. Because we went home. Very quick timeline, little backstory on that. So when we met, again, as you guys know, won't talk too much, but we both were in relationships. I had a girlfriend, he had a boyfriend. And I don't know how things just like progressed really, really fast.
I was just being very forward.
Jarius would text me pretty much just like, you know, like, so what's up, what's up, what's up? I think for him at that time, he was just really concerned because I was dating girls, that I would go back to girls. Part of that, if I'm not mistaken, was because you just kind of wanted to be sure like what I was doing.
Yeah, like I feel like I just didn't want to like waste my time if you weren't gonna be serious.
Part one of that problem is during the time when Jarius and I started communicating, while I think we both thought it was from like a friendship level, we both were in relationships. And I think I may have mentioned this before, but I tried to like ignore his forward passes during that time and just like play crazy because I thought he was a cool person. So at that time, I would always call him while I was working, like on all my routes. And so I felt as though like we just kind of became closer during that time.
Looking back on it, you can see how some of the past kind of catches up to you today. I know we talked about this in Marriage Secrets, but it's just really important on how you start your relationship because it determines how your relationship will progress. And I feel like because we didn't really give ourselves the opportunity to really date, mind you, we were 18 years old at this point. We didn't even get to really experience college and get to be individuals, I guess, and really just develop within ourselves enough before we jumped into a very serious relationship. And I think that because of that time that we spent together, we didn't get to grow separately. We never really had a chance to like miss each other. We were always around each other. Starting it like that, it
set the tone for how things went forward. Because I think I just knew that I like talking to him. I felt like when he wasn't being forward, he was just a really cool person to talk to. At that time, my cousin lived with me. So I had my cousin and another roommate. We were in a 3-bedroom apartment. Jarius actually was in a 3-bedroom college situation also. You had 2 roommates at 3 other roommates. You know, my cousin was like my best friend. So it was just like I always had somebody there. We moved there together, but he wasn't in school with me. So when I went to LSU, it was kind of just like, okay. And then I had friends there, but I lived off campus. So one, it kind of took away from the college experience that I stayed off campus and was like in an apartment from day one because I was always kind of disconnected from school. And Jarius actually lived the next street over and his school was actually farther. He actually lived in apartments where you should have been going to my school. But as we were dating, it just became adapting to each other and trying to like
appease each other
rather than figure out in a really critical time of our lives, being in college away from home for the first time, what we wanted to be, who we were. And because I was still dating somebody back at home. Jarius had came already out there and had a boyfriend that lived there. So he had already kind of started his dating trend and things like that. But I just felt like in that moment, I was just like cut off.
And I think just from like your perspective, when you start off a relationship very quickly, you are not giving yourself the opportunity to really learn that person and to learn if they're really compatible with you. And it was just no way in that short amount of time that we could have figured that out. And I feel like had we given ourselves the opportunity to get to know each other better, we would have saved ourselves a lot of headache today because we would have been able to really have an understanding about each other. And I know the other side of it is just like, you know, we rush into these things because we see this amazing person and they have so much potential and you don't want to lose them. it doesn't do you any service to like, just try to rush into things very quickly.
Do you feel like if we had taken time to get to know each other more that we would have dated?
I do, because I think at that time we were just very different people. Well, I feel like if anything, I would have ruined it because, I just didn't want to play them games. Like, I need to know.
Jarius don't know how to be by himself.
I don't.
You've actually always been in a relationship.
Yeah.
I don't think that and so I think that that's a thing that I didn't know at the time. I didn't know that he has an issue being like by himself. Like, I feel like he wanted a relationship and the thought of having a relationship, but I didn't know that you were like never single.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I think, again, I'm so big now. Like, I think that just kind of learning more about people's families and just like their upbringing and like how they view relationships, I think it's just like so important in the beginning stages because you can get a lot of it out of the way.
You gotta be wise of who you invest your time in.
Or do you feel like you missed out on anything in college?
I do. I mean, I feel like we both did. We didn't really get to have like a college experience per se to where like we're going on a trip this summer or, like we have college friends that
did spring break together.
Yeah, like we don't have those memories because we did everything together. And while like I'm appreciative because obviously we built up like a really great life for ourselves, but I think that we would just be so much more well-developed individuals and people had we given ourselves the opportunity to grow and learn more about ourselves first.
And I think that kind of goes to, again, just touching on some of the stuff that we talked about in the previous series, is I think now that's starting to manifest because it didn't happen and now we're kind of working backwards. Even after being together for 8 years, learning things about each other, and Jari is kind of dealing with learning about me wanting to do more things and just be an individual outside of him. And I think that he has that same thing too, but once you have spent 8 years and like have a mentality of just like, okay, well, this is how things have always gone, like why the change now? It's because we're working in reverse now to kind of dig up some of the things that we should have taken the time to learn in the beginning about.
And I think like knowing now that like my upbringing in childhood, and that like I was pretty much by myself for the majority of the time. I mean, obviously I had like childhood best friends, but then they started failing grades. I went on and I was really by myself. And then when I got to high school, around like my senior year, I became friends with two people who I really started to care about. But up until then, it's always just been me. Like I had friends who were girls, but they were girls. We weren't going to relate on everything. But I feel like now that you know that about my childhood, would you have looked at me differently because I wasn't a social butterfly like you was?
But I didn't see that though, because when Jess and them, my friends from college, like would come around, I didn't feel like you were like that. I feel like we had the neighbors, but again, it was girls. And I feel like James was my cousin, so I never got to see you interact with like guy friends. But I just feel like that I didn't know that. I think that knowing what I know now, like I didn't know that at the time that you had extra baggage from like your last relationship, like that you brought into ours. And I think that that's a big thing with making sure that you close the door in that chapter one, like whatever you're dealing with in your past relationship before you get into a new one. My sister's friend just actually called us and was telling us a story about her boyfriend and how she just has this feeling like she got cheated on, and like in her new relationship, she's just like, well, he knows what I've been through. He needs to adhere to that and like let me go through his phone. I was just like, no, you can't be like that because he didn't do anything wrong. I just think that it's super important to make sure, regardless if you feel the need to be in a relationship, that you make sure that all of those demons are settled before you jump into something else, because it's gonna manifest in some type of way.
That's actually one of my biggest regrets, is that I messed up so much and I feel like I changed you as a person. And it sucks because I think that I often would tell you in arguments and stuff like that it's just like, I wish that you could go back to like the person who you were when I first started dating you. I didn't realize that it's just like, that's never gonna be a possibility now because I ruined that person. Who you were in the beginning was like perfect for me, but I wasn't ready for it. I did such a disservice to you by putting you through certain things that made you change and made you have to adapt to be with me. And I feel like had I been more mature at that time to really be a good partner to you, which I mean, I don't even think at 18 years old that you can really be a good partner, but I feel like had I been more mature at that time, I think we would have been a lot better.
Yikes. On that note, I think that we can agree that we'll share what you think changed and what happened in our next video. So make sure you guys comment, let us know if you can relate to any of those things, and make sure that you stay tuned this Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you'll find out exactly where this shift happened in our relationship that may have gotten us here. So thank you guys so much, and until next time.
Why are you here with my boyfriend and I know nothing of it?
But Jarius he's kind-hearted underneath the surface.
Did I ever make you feel insecure because I talked about him so much?